begin with this, affective learning competencies are those skills, knowledge, and attitudes which are important for a teacher's successful dealing with affective domains, behaviors of exceptional students. So our main objectives for today's report is crafting an effective learning outcome for the different levels in the affective domains. So according to William James Popam in 2003, there are 3 reasons why it is important to assess affect art. So number 1 reasons is educators should be interested in assessing affective variable because these variables are excellent predictors of students' future behavior. So it means that the teacher should be interested for the evaluation of affective variable because these variables are great predictors for the behaviors of the students in future. So next is teachers should assess affect to remind themselves that their work to be a successful teacher in helping students obtain high scores in achievement tests. So it should be checked for the teacher for what's the effect to remind themselves that helping students can obtain scores in achievement tests. And lastly, information regarding students affect and help teachers teach more effectively on a day-to-day basis. And then, besides students' academic performance, there are other dimensions of learners that need to be assessed also. These are aptitudes and attitudes that are related to the academic achievements of learners according to Tanner 2001. And then, next is the learner's attitudes towards academic tasks influence their achievements according to Harvard 1988, Left-Right Polls 1994. That attitude is associated with what is called the individual's affective domain, and affect adds a significant dimension of assessment. So, the relevance of affective targets as regards for the assessment of learners and facilitation of learning. Number 1 is importance of affective targets. So, according to researchers have established the clear link between affect and cognitive learning by Ormwood 2004. So, students are more proficient in problem solving if they enjoy what they do. Students who are in good mood and emotionally involved are more likely to pay attention to information that remembers it meaningfully and apply it. Last is too much anxiety obstruct learning, and greater motivation is necessary for maximum performance. According to Fraser 1994, a more positive environment fosters good student engagement and learning than in a classroom with negative climate. Though the linkage of affect and learning of students has been well established, there remains very little systematic assessment of affect that is applied in classroom instruction. So motivation and involvement of students in learning activities are affected by students' attitudes toward learning, respect for others, and concern for others. So there are 2 possible reasons that motivation and involvement of students in learning can affect the students' attitude. So number 1 is school routines are organized based on subject areas, and second is the assessment of affective targets is fraught with difficulties by Macmillan 2007. So number 2 is affective traits and learning targets. The word affective traits to a variety of traits and disposition that are different from knowledge, reasoning, and skills by Hahn 1995. Technically, these terms means the emotion or feelings that one has towards someone or something, involves attitudes, values, self-concept, citizenship, and other traits are usually considered to be non-cognitive, include more than emotions or feelings. So most kinds of students can affect that involves both emotion and cognitive beliefs. So there are 14 traits with their corresponding description. So number 1 is attitude. respond in an unfavorable or favorable way to persons or objects or one's environment. If ever we like or we dislike something, we express our feelings, attitudes towards the person or that certain kind of objects or certain kind of environment that we live. Next is the interest. So, interest is the personal preference for certain kind of activities. So, interest, it is really true that when we are facing our students in the class and there are too many, nalitan natin 52 ka students, so naman dyan na, halo man dyan na. So, na-interpersonal learners, special learners, din ako yung mga bata, mga ayos sa math, English, lain mga. So, next is values. So, values is importance, worth, usefulness, and modes of conduct, and end states. So, values, it may differ from each other, and there are those values education, sports, or the family, or many others. Next is the opinion. Beliefs about specific occurrences and situations. Because of the cultural background of each individual, or maybe especially our students come from different religions, of course, it dictates what opinions, what they will give. So, preferences number 5, desire to select one object over behavior. Desire to select one object behavior. It depends the values that a student has, and of course, his preferences, of course, are dependent upon his cultural background, his preferences for what he has learned on a class. Next is the motivation. Motivation is the desire and willingness to be engaged in behavior, including intensity of involvement. So motivation, it helps him achieve his personal goals, help in self-development of an individual. It needs an exploration, knowledge, and manipulation for the students. Academic self-concept, self-perception of competence in school and learning. 8 is self-esteem, attitudes towards oneself, degree of self-respect, worthiness, desirability of self-concept. Is the locus of control, self-perception of whether success and failure is controlled by the student or by external. Locus of control is how students perceive the causes of their academic success or failure in the school. Then is emotional development. It is the growth, change, and awareness of emotions and ability to regulate emotional expressions. So emotional development helps the students to have a positive interactions with peers, educators, but what a student needs is to learn how to listen to others and respect each other's differences. Next is the social relationships, nature of interpersonal interactions and functioning in group setting. So, it needs the cooperation that is valued over competition. Through group small activities, students learn cooperations, building friendships, and respect for others. Number 12 is altruism, willingness and propensity to help others. It inspires young people for valuing and helping others. It requires the kindness, compassion, and the gratitude and the empathy. And the 13 is the moral development, attainment of ethical principles that guide decision making and behavior. Moral development, it is the process in which fostering students' moral identities that children learn to differentiate the wrong from the right based on the society's cultural laws and norms. And the last is classroom development, nature of feeling tones and interpersonal relationship in a class. Is the attitude targets. So according to Macmillan 1980, defines attitudes as internal states that influence what students are likely to do. Attitude targets, according to Macmillan 1980, defines attitudes as influence what students are likely to do. In a learning institutions, attitude is contingent on subjects, teachers, other students, homeworks, and other objects or persons. One can identify the positive or negative attitudes that a person intends to foster or at least keep track of because these attitudes are related to current and future behavior. So attitude targets, it refers that an affective component of positive or negative feelings. Example, attitude towards learning, attitudes towards subject, attitudes towards the teachers, attitudes towards the homework. And then, muna yung example, a positive attitudes toward, a negative attitudes toward. So, learning, cheating, math, science, English, and other subjects. Yung negative attitude is drug use, assignments, bullying, classroom rules, and cutting class. So, in researches conducted by social psychologists, they found that attitudes consist of three components of contributing factors according to Forsyth 1999. So, number one, an affective component of positive or negative feelings. Number two, a cognitive component describing a word or value. Number three, a behavioral component indicating a willingness to resort or engage in particular actions. So, example is, Juana may not like English very much, but that thinks that English is important. The question is, what would her attitude be? In general sense, towards English, that would depend on what component of the attitude is being measured. If it is only affective component, then the attitude will be negative. So it would translate to a positive attitudes. Next is the value targets. Values refers to either the end states of existence or the modes of conduct that are desirable or so values prefer to have ideas as their targets, but it could also be beliefs and behaviors. So these are the core values with the sample values: the honesty, integrity, justice, and freedom. So honesty is the student should learn to value honesty in their dealing with others. Integrity, students should firmly observe their own code of values. 3. Justice, students should support the view that all citizens should be the recipients of equal justice from government law enforcement agencies. Freedom, students should believe that democratic countries must provide the maximum level of freedom to their citizens. The next reporter will be Rhea Montero.